All right, good morning, everybody. How we doing? How we feeling? Happy Monday. Got a fresh week, a fresh start for myself. I'll get into all of that a little later on. Let's go ahead and jump right on into this. All right. Make sure all my levels and everything are good. Go ahead and check out that pre-market support or that pre-market insight. Pre-market support. All right, so on the calendar today, we have new home sales at 10. Tomorrow, we have core durable goods and the CB consumer confidence. Wednesday, we have crude oil inventories. We have some afternoon FOMC action, the FOMC statement, interest rate decision, and the press conference. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims, GDP, pending home sales, and then Friday, we have nothing scheduled. So this week is sort of a busy week. Of course, the highlight is going to be the FOMC afternoon on Wednesday. Go ahead and look on over at that power range report. For our NQ future sessions power range today, we got a high of 15,111 with a low of 1591 and a quarter. We were trading neutral, down 0.04% with a volume of 73K and an ATR 181.78. Taking a look at our charts, you can see on the daily we are trading into all-time highs still. Nice little run up here from whatever day this was that I bounced off of our support. Right now, that support being the K band, and it looks like it wants to keep climbing higher. Let's go ahead and hit the play on this. All right, so from an intraday perspective, found a little we gapped slightly up, not even really enough for it to mean anything. Peaked into all-time highs, failed, came back down into support, traded into pulled back a little deeper into a little bit of more support, and then retracing. Basically, we just been hanging out sideways overnight. So right now we're currently trading below the power range, giving us a bearish bias. We'll see how everything opens. As we can see on Friday, NASDAQ can be a little tricky from time to time, even though I get into all of that at another time. I'm not gonna really do it like a trade review or anything of Friday, but Friday was interesting. Let's go ahead and look at our futures market pulse, our market watch. What am I calling this? I don't know. Let's see. Pretty much the same price action with ES. Never traded above its power range. Also hanging around an all-time high area on the daily. RTY and YM still trading within their ranges. RTY had more of a pullback overnight. Traded all the way down to PR -6 and then right back up into the power range. Looks like it's currently above the power range. And I'm missing some data for this instance, which I kept this thing up overnight, so I don't. It's the instances pulling data a little bit different. Same thing with YM, a deep pullback, some deep sell-off, and right back up, but we didn't make it to the power range high. Back into the power range from what I can see here. Currently trading below PR -1. Just take a quick glance at the other futures products. Crude oil below its power range. Looking ready to turn over on the daily. Or maintain its range. GC mostly bullish of its power range. Right now, finding support on the PR low. Also being held up by some daily support. And on the daily, the Euro FX is just slowly grinding short, but still it has this support for a pivot here that it hasn't broken yet. Currently trading intraday above its power range. All right. It's got a little bit of everything this morning in this in the market overall. All right, so we got about 8 minutes before the bell. Make sure I run back through my checklist and I'm ready to go. Remove this rule here because I'm no longer doing the evaluation account is still open, but you know it hasn't expired yet, but I'm not focused on that one anymore. I've already got all the data that I wanted to get from that. Kind of got a little outside of the normal, I guess I can call it a goal or focus for how I trade. So, you know, once Friday happened, I was actually kind of relieved that I didn't have to worry about that anymore, and I could just focus like for what works best for me. Because it kind of started becoming a thing of me trying to hit the target, and then that's, you know, focusing on a target, whether it's, you know, like a certain amount of money that I need to make. This is why I don't set monetary goals, because that's just, for me, that's not the best, it's not the most efficient thing for me to do. Didn't do the pre-market snapshot yet. I didn't even get my notes in. Had to make sure I stayed with my mindfulness routine. That's enough. I can go ahead and get that pre-market snapshot. Wish I had a define. Well, I'll worry about that later. Want a smoother way to transition between the audio. All right, got about 3 minutes to the bell. So the way ahead for me is, of course, I'm going to be putting all the focus back to the performance account. Now I'm going to use the same strategy, just a different entry method, which is going to be more of a responsive entry. And there's a reason why I'm doing it. It was, I didn't really have anything wrong with the other way that I was, my more aggressive way of getting into a trade. But I am putting together a course, and in that course, I'm going to have this strategy as the example strategy. So this part, me using the responsive method is going to be where all the data is going to be pulled to, for that course. So once that course comes out, it'll make more sense, of course. So that's the way ahead for me. I was thinking about just kind of still, I definitely did not hit the max drawdown, so I was thinking about still trading in the evaluation account, but that's not top priority right now. Since I got this, since I am working on this course, it'd be better for me to just focus on this, with what I just said. I didn't feel like repeating it. We are seeing a response at the VWAP before the open. Also, we got a point of control there. At 80 3/4. We'll just call it 80 just to keep it a nice simple range, and we are open. Just gonna watch how this plays out. We do have a balance level at 93 3/4 that I'll be watching. I think the challenge for me in this one is going to be, since I am kind of using a different method. I've used this method before, when I felt like it was best to enter a trade this way, but the challenge is going to be just not falling into that habit of getting into a trade like I'm used to, where I would place my order ahead of the price. I actually have to wait for the price to get there and then respond, see the response from the buyers and sellers, and then take an action. So we got some sell-off at the open. Broke the support here at our PR -2. Had a couple pivots there. It looks like it wants to turn into a look below and fail. Currently retesting that structure. See if we can get some more sellers to come back in here and jump in. Interestingly, ES is trading above its VWAP. Currently has some buying, pushing it up into the power range. All right, and back to NQ, we got some sellers that jump in there off that structure, pushing us lower. Gonna watch how this candle closes in the next 30 seconds. Got a battle between our buyers and sellers. Balance level below this Can't see it, so we'll just call it 30. We'll call it 40, 1540. Can't see the exact price, but that's close enough. It's like we're trying to have some selling momentum. So also keeping in mind that the sell-off is against the overall trend. And overnight we did have a strong response to this balance level that we're trading into. So let's see what kind of response we get. I'm going to be changing my focus to the 1 minute. Just looking for the response. Getting a little more insight on the bigger picture. Zooming in my focus. So we did have buyers step in there at the balance level. Sellers pushing it right back down. Buyers jumping right. We got a lot of negative delta on our board. Currently at negative 13, 14, bouncing around between there. And I'm almost using the delta as a confirmation. So that was a long opportunity, of course, off the balance level, but that would be trading against the power range, which is not really, that's not the rules of my strategy. So got to sit here and watch it. Don't have a trigger yet. A lot of buying with ES. So this is starting to shape up very similar to Friday's price action. I mean, it almost happened the exact same way, except it wasn't exactly the same. We had more room to the short side, but at the open we had the sell off. It traded down to a balance level, found support on the balance level. We had buyers step in at that balance level, and then that slowly took us higher. So we'll see if we have that same kind of follow through today. ES is definitely making an attempt to trade into the moon. Hasn't broken its all-time high yet. Some strong buying coming in with NQ. Taking us strongly into our resistance. Excuse me. So those buyers stepped in there strongly, pushing this price up. Means we didn't have a whole lot of supply. quick gather of inventory, then bring it right back into the market to push this price higher. I would call this a hindsight capital, but I did kind of see this happening. Like I mentioned before, I couldn't take the long here because that's not, got to stay disciplined into the strategy. All right, so now we are seeing some response at the PR low. What is our, oh, okay, our range isn't that wide. That's why we, looks like the price is jumping around a lot. It's just a matter of perspective. What's good, Wes? I haven't seen you in the chat in a minute. Still waiting on my trigger. So now we got a kind of a little small battle range between our power range and then our indicators being the VWAP and the 200 SMA. And I'm seeing buyers and sellers respectively at those locations. Sellers are pushing us through our quote-unquote support. YouTube been hiding the channel. You gotta love YouTube. Now we get followed through on the sell-off. That'll be very interesting price action. This response from our sellers. All right, so our buyer stepped in. Trading, mechanically this morning. Definitely looks like our buyer has control, which they should, being that the overall trend is bullish. Of course, at some point we can expect to see some pullback into our daily support, our bigger time frame support. Definitely not saying it's going to happen today. Just at some point, it will happen. Just a mental awareness. Normally I would have taken this position at least at the off VWAP, which will also have the PR -1 there. I would have taken it short and it probably scaled in at the PR low. Definitely would have scaled in at the PR low if not taking the entry at the PR low. I have to go back and watch the game tape to see what the volume profile at that time looked like then. I'm just looking and waiting for a signal, and then that's when I'll focus. I mean, not focus, but that's when I'll look to execute. It's definitely an exercise of my discipline, for sure. These things that are important to trading, such as discipline and consistency and focus, all of these are like muscles that you have to continuously, exercise and work out so that they stay strong. It's right when you get complacent from personal experiences when the market slaps you hard in the hand, taking away your money in the process. So it's just like Friday. I'm not really a believer in the selling side of this market. Just looking at the price action and the structure, the way that our price is printing. All right, so we're getting a response right here at PR -1. And our buyers pushing right through that. Again, the level that I'm looking at is this balance level and this power range low. Above that, PR 50, all the way up into the power range high and PR +1. Looking at the volume structure and of course the structure of the price. This price action so far has created a small little range here. We still got sellers stepping in off our PR low. I also got to make sure I'm staying aware of the time today. Definitely, like Friday, I traded way beyond my window just because I just wanted to see how the price was gonna, how everything was gonna, play out in the end, and this, just to watch the rest, how the rest of the market are. What am I trying to say? I wanted to see how, the play that I was in, how it was gonna play out, and watch the price action, and not just if it got there or not, but how it got there. I wanted to get that experience and that screen time. So I overstayed I stayed much for longer than what my normal trading time is, but definitely cannot do that today. Gotta make sure, because I got a lot of other things. I got this course that I gotta, put a lot of work into. a lot of other things on my schedule today, so I gotta stay strict to my time frame today. We still got our response from the seller right here at the balance level. I personally still don't have a signal yet. We do have a lot of reasons for there to be buyers and sellers in the small range here, this tight space. Push price right back down to VWAP, and we do have some buyers responding there. We have flipped positive on the delta. Of course, our delta board is correlating well with the price action. All right, and that buyer stepped in right there at our indicators. We just don't have enough supply to really push this, to really get any follow through to the short side. And this price action looks like we have wholesaling just collecting inventory. We should be looking at pre-market. That's pretty much what they did in the pre-market. It's collecting inventory all in here. Of course, we didn't have enough supply to really take us lower, so got our last little bit of inventory and push us higher. Sold a lot of that off into strength. Now we got another phase of inventory collection. This price action is definitely looking very similar to Friday, just is happening quicker, if I'm not mistaken. We got our sellers in here. This is kind of an aggressive signal. Inside candle from a 1 minute perspective. Very, very small range. If we break the high, then that That's a signal to remove this trade. So we'll be seeing which side we break. Another inside candle. Very interesting price action this morning, giving us a decent little pennant pattern. So any second now, it should be breaking in either direction. Our buyers are stepping in here. So they definitely trying to make a push to push price higher, overtake our sellers that have been sitting here at our balance level. There's a slight attempt to break the high of that inside range. Sellers are still stepping in. So they are really fighting it out right here. Right, here's another attempt to push through, break through this resistance. Definitely looks good from a 3-minute perspective. All right, peaked above our, and right back down. Peaked above the power range. I mean, not the power range, the balance level. Sellers jumped in there again. Buyers are not giving up. There would have been a lot of buyers that have went long at the break. So if it does go lower, they will be trapped, or they will, they will have the trapped sentiment. Now these are just all ideas. There's no way to, I'm not gonna go. No, I'll just leave it there. So we don't have any follow through really from either side. We're still just battling out. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that at that break. Now let's see if we get some follow through long. Price has a long way to go before I can take a long position. So this may end up as a no trade day for me, which is perfectly okay. As I always say, capital preservation is solid risk management. As long as it's a result of you being disciplined and following your plan. And, staying disciplined and consistent with your strategy. It's not a good thing when you're just being trigger shy and you're afraid to take trades, which I definitely did in the earlier stages of my career. That's actually one of the main things that I had to overcome, was being trigger shy. All right, so we got volume structure here. I'll write it with our PR50. Not seeing much of a response, slight response here as of right now. And this is price action that I'm really not a fan of. We're just slowly chopping around in very small ranges. Actually, I prefer to not trade on these types of days. You know, my personality likes more. I like more volatility. I like the wild swings and I like action. Not the slow, low participation chop. Seen a lot of positive delta on the board, but not really seeing the price print in a way that I would expect to represent what I'm looking at on the delta board. So definitely hands off for me, no signal. Just gotta sit here. I mean, this is a level, but there's too much resistance or too much support here. And I don't want to trade bearish against right, you know, up against support. This is not, the probabilities are not high there. Yep, creepy action this Monday open for sure. But just kind of just trying to remember from past Mondays, and it seems kind of odd for a Monday to have this type of price action. But we are trading into all-time highs, so that also has a little bit to do with it. But the all-time high is up here at, let's see, 127 ish. We had 10 o'clock, start of a new 30-minute period. Traded 110 contracts within that first. It didn't seem like it traded that many contracts. It's that slow back and forth action. A lot of transactions happen in a very tight range. And now we're getting some follow through, some push. Which reminds me, it would have been really, really nice to get in right there off that balance level. Long. So this tells me that we don't have a lot of participation in the market other than wholesale and some retail trading. This to me definitely looks like wholesale price action. Got a response at the power range high. Still, the way that this is printing doesn't give me enough room and space to trade it like I want, you know, to really trade like I want to. Especially with the for lack of better words, momentum or the control being in favor of the bulls. It all becomes about expectations. So if I'm taking a responsive short, but if it's here at the power range of 50 or the PR50, then I gotta expect some buyers here at a balance level, where it's also where we broke out of resistance. So structurally, even if, let's say, the balance level isn't here, and because it's, that's only just one piece of information, it's not the end all be all, of course, but we do have structure there. So a lot of the market is going to be looking at this as a break from a range, break into a break higher, a breakout, and there will be buyers. We know that there will be buyers. Just understanding the sentiment of the market and how people like to trade. There will be buyers sitting there at the at that breakout looking for a retest. So me trying to take a short here, of course, by the strategy, and have to trade in the direction of the power range. Me trying to take a short there just doesn't give me a lot of room or give me a good risk to reward ratio. Even though I didn't have a signal, I'm just just hypothetical. This is all hypothetical. I didn't get a signal up here at all. I did see a response, but not the kind of response that would give me a signal. So in order for me to actually take that, I would have to step outside of the strategy that I'm currently executing at this moment, and I would have had to play ahead of it and try to get in up here, which I would have been able to maybe get a scalp, maybe. But of course you don't know that until after the fact. And if I did manage to somehow get in closer to the PR high, I wouldn't be looking for another strong sell-off. I would be looking at the area that I just talked about as the main target. Maybe I leave a runner just in case it breaks it, but I'm definitely looking to offload most of the position at that structural new support. Alright, so I got about 10 more minutes within my trading window. And I definitely, the way this is printing, I don't have my reversal stuff yet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm not gonna take any trades today. I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm gonna get a good signal within the next 5 minutes. Could be wrong. We don't know what's gonna happen. Actually, that was kind of a signal there, but not really. No, that's not a signal, but that did give me a signal. But since it's so late and then I don't really have time to trade beyond the window, I'm just gonna go ahead and call it a no trade day and just watch it for the rest of the session. So I did get a signal here in that same area I was talking about at 107.25. We'll see how that plays out. I think we just touched that price. Let's see if we can get some follow through. It's not a strong signal, but it is a signal. In very quick hindsight, I did realize that I could have taken this in a simulated environment, or just so I get the hands-on experience with it, but it's all good. Definitely looks like we're making an attempt to push higher, but right back into that slow, choppy grind. So we get bursts of momentum, but they don't last long. And it looks like ES kind of has the same price action, even though I kind of expect that more so with ES. I don't expect to see a lot of strong directional volatility with ES. Which is why I believe traders that trade ES mostly look for scalps in it, just based off its personality. Alright. And a nice little tiny range. We got an inside candle in a very, very small range. I'm actually glad I didn't get any signals when I wanted it to. And if I had more time to trade, this would be like a day that I would just let the morning play out and come back in the afternoon, see if things have picked up a little bit, and then maybe trade the afternoon. It's definitely not what I would expect within the first 30 minutes of the open, or the first hour of the open. All right, we're gonna make an attempt to break higher. Of course, my next level that I am looking at is PR +1, which is the same area that I'll be looking for a trend reversal. Of course, that's bigger picture from a short-term perspective. The trend is definitely bullish from a short-term perspective, but looking at it from a big picture, trend is definitely, there's really no trend for this session. This gets the grade of neutral. Nice little head fake on the break, taking us back to the low of this tiny range. See if we can get some follow through. There's some follow through. Well, there's an attempt to give us some follow through. Puts us at a support of our indicator. This indicator being somewhat of a weak indicator. If I had to, give the indicators a rating, of course, the strongest indicators are going to be the VWAP and the 200. All right, pushing right back down. Here we go, looking at taking us to the balance level. So that signal would have gave us a nice little trade. It definitely played out much quicker than I didn't expect that kind of sell-off. Like I mentioned before, if I would have taken a short there, if I would have took that signal, my main target would have been the balance level. Now, I would have left another target down here below that balance level, but I would have been mostly out of the position at this balance level. And then my break even would have been triggered, if not automatically, manually. And this is all defined by the rules of the strategy. This is not, I'm not just freestyling this. I got the predator print on the buy squeeze. Yep. All right, let's see. It brought some momentum in here. Let's see if we can get some follow through. taking us back within that range that our pre-market range. Buyers are stepping in there. Once again, structure. They like the structure here. Of course, we can expect some buyers to be here at the structure. This is why, I would definitely offload most of the position at that level. This is where I would just makes sense to expect some buyers to be there. And our buyers did not let us down. So buyers are stepping in, trying to push us right back higher. I'm gonna see what these next couple of 3-minute candles takes us, because this is definitely a very interesting print. Seller stepped in there off of volume structure. So as the picture has been painted, this should go lower. But all these typical candlestick patterns haven't really, played out so well so far in the session. I understand that our market makers really don't care about they don't really look at charts like that, so they only, create the price action that prints the charts. Not gonna go into detail all about that. That could be another video for another day. But this is why sometimes it's us retail traders and other participants that cares how it prints visually on a chart. This is why sometimes it won't work out specifically how you think it should, just because of the way it printed. The market makers are just looking at orders that they buy to fill them so that they can make money on the spread. So we still got some buying here at our balance level, at our structure, our new support, whatever terminology you want to use there. The terms don't matter. It's all about sentiment. I'm gonna let this 3-minute candle close, and then we're gonna see where we're at. And that gives us another inside candle on the 3-minute perspective. So with all that being said, I'm gonna just let this paint dry. I'll come back and look at it later. Go ahead and end my session for today. Appreciate everybody for coming through, all the comments and all of that good stuff. Hope y'all have a good rest of the day. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Trade it easy.